This is a recent personal experience of mine. It was back when I was still a student, attending a university in a rural area. On that day, I casually attended my classes, went to work as usual afterward, and returned home around midnight. After taking a shower and finishing a can of beer, I suddenly remembered that I had an early class the next day. Since it was a comfortable summer night, I, despite living on the first floor of the apartment and not believing in spirits, decided to open the windows on the balcony and the upper part of the door to let in some fresh air for sleeping. By the way, my bed was positioned with the head towards the balcony side and the feet towards the door side. At the time, I had been experiencing mild insomnia and wanted to improve my sleep, so I did some light exercises and had a glass of whiskey before lying down. It was past 9 in the morning. I suddenly woke up, realizing I was lying face down with my head turned to the left. This was a common symptom of my insomnia, waking up in the middle of the night, and I thought I'd just have a glass of water to go back to sleep. But when I tried to move, my body wouldn't respond. I was confident I had better physical stamina than this. I must still be half asleep. Thinking it might be just a figment of my imagination, I exerted more force, but I still couldn't move. Sleep paralysis, I thought, feeling panic for the first time. At that moment, I heard a strange sound, like someone walking around right beside my bed, going creak creak. It was like tapping, something I had never heard before. The sound gradually moved around the walls and then up to the ceiling. While this was happening, I had been hearing a constant ringing in my ears, like tinnitus. But suddenly, all those sounds vanished. I could feel cold sweat trickling down my body. As I strained my ears to listen, there was complete silence around me, just like any other quiet night. It was strange. There was no sound anymore. I had a refrigerator and tropical fish in my room. Their motors should always be making some noise. However, I couldn't hear anything anymore. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. Thump, thump, as I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat. I sensed a lukewarm breeze blowing in from the window at the head of my bed, even though my body remained immobile. And for some reason, I felt that someone was there. At that moment, I realized there was someone standing at the tip of my right foot while I lay face down. They were just looking at me, observing or assessing something. They were staring at me. I could tell that some time had passed. But was it long or short? I couldn't tell. They remained motionless. Finally, they moved. They climbed onto my bed. But there was no creaking of the bed. They climbed further up, onto my calf. It felt slightly warm and a bit slippery. In my mind, I began to recite every chant and prayer. I knew Namyu Amida Batsu, and so on. Then, for some reason, a word came to my mind, Grandpa. My grandfather had passed away shortly after I was born. I had heard from relatives that he had given his soul to me before departing. According to people who claim to see such things, my grandfather was said to be around my right shoulder. As the entity on top of me prepared to take another step, I earnestly thought, Grandpa, please help me. At that moment, although I couldn't see it, I heard a sound like something snapping from my back. The entity on top of me collapsed. When it fell with a thud, I thought, due to the overwhelming force approaching me, I'm going to collide with it, crushed by a spirit. But as soon as it covered me, it passed through my body and disappeared. With words like Q, terror, Nke, We, Ro, No, echoing in the air. Almost simultaneously, the sleep paralysis released its grip on me, and I found myself unable to believe what had just happened. I quickly closed all the windows. In reality, was I just dreaming, or had a real intruder entered my room? I thought about it, and after checking the room thoroughly, I had some water, and once I had calmed down, decided to change my sweaty t-shirt. As I took off my t-shirt in front of the mirror, I remembered the entity. Falling on my back and looked at the mirror. There, a red mark resembling a bruise traced diagonally across my back. starting from my right foot.